Finally, the Jalen Ramsey saga in Jacksonville has taken another turn. According to our Adam Schefter, Ramsey called the Jaguars on Sunday, told them he won't be attending Monday's practice because he's sick. Schefter added that Ramsey may not even be able to practice at all this week. Max?
Yeah.
What's your reaction to this?
You know who this is really going to fly well with? Like, it's really going to jibe with the whole thing. Tom Coughlin.
Yeah.
He'll really understand this one. Look, the man's sick. What
He
do you
could
want
even
to
be
do?
a little late to it. Won't bother him.
I mean, this is a clear signal. Jalen Ramsey is saying, oh, Coughlin, you think you're going to get rid of me? You're not the one who's going to call that shot. I'm going to make sure that you get rid of me, and it's going to be more on my timetable than you like, and you're going to get less for me than you like. There's not a whole lot a team can actually do because it's, you know, you don't want to establish a culture of a team holding a player holding a team hostage. Stephen A., as you always often refer to, we don't want hostages, we want volunteers. But if it's irreconcilable and if both sides are pig-headed, like stubborn, then a player does have the ability to force a team really to move on from him and also to not get as much as they would otherwise get. It looks to me like we are now at least, if not past that point, with Ramsey and Coughlin. And the Jaguars, he is forcing their hand. The Jaguars are going to have to make a move sooner than later.
I think the thing that you're missing, Max, is that they, according to the report, Shad Khan, the owner for the Jacksonville Jaguars, is leading this. Mm-hmm. His whole position is that it's my team. I'm the owner. You're 24 years old. You're widely considered the best cornerback in football. I'm not trying to lose you. I'm not trying to let you go. When I was watching numerous reports yesterday, including Jay Glazer, even though he's on Fox, that's my man. I've known him for a long time. He was talking about how there was a meeting that, you know, Tom Coughlin, Jalen Ramsey and Coach Doug Marrone, they resolved their difference. It really wasn't that big of a deal. That kind of stuff happens sometimes. It was when Jalen Ramsey met with Tom Coughlin. That situation went south. And I think if you know anything about Tom Coughlin would probably be happy to let Jalen Ramsey walk out the door. You know, you want to get equitable compensation for him if you can. But Tom Coughlin, I don't think would have a problem with it. It's Shad Khan that's saying, excuse me, wait a minute, we ain't trying to lose this brother. And so as a result, he's leading the charge to hold on to Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey knows that. And as a result, he's going to do what he has to do. I can't fault him for it because if him and Tom Coughlin are just that much oil and water, that situation is not going to get better. Tom Coughlin, Ryan Clark, I don't know how you feel about this, but Tom Coughlin is not the kind of guy where if you don't get along with him, suddenly you're going to make amends with each other and things going to get. Nah, if you and Tom Coughlin don't get along now, you ain't going to get along next month, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. It ain't going to get better. That's what I think.
Tom Coughlin's way is more important to him than winning football games. And, you know, I get a lot of heat from Giants fans anytime I say anything negative about them because that's the last team to cut me. And it was sitting in front of Tom Coughlin, and Tom Coughlin is blunt. Tom Coughlin is honest, at least about what he feels. And that's what this was about. It wasn't Doug Marrone and Jalen Ramsey. That was put to bed. The issue was what Tom Coughlin said to Jalen Ramsey in a face-to-face meeting, the way Jalen Ramsey felt disrespected, and that's when he walks out, calls his agent, and says, you know what? I can't be here under that man. And this was part of what eventually got Tom Coughlin out of New York and allowed them to keep people who coach underneath him. Here's the other thing that I want to clear up. Jalen Ramsey is not faking sick. The hardest thing to do in the NFL is fake sick. I can tell you some other things that you can fake if you don't want to work, that they just can't figure out. There are other things you can do to not practice. You can't fake sick. It's one of those things we don't get holidays and we don't get sick days. So when Jalen Ramsey threw up 3 times last night, which he did, because I know this for a fact, and when the team is on their way to pick him up to get him IV'd, there's no faking that. That's real life. That is what's happening. And now, it's an unfortunate time for it to happen because you understand that he wanted to be traded. Shad Khan comes in and says that's not going to happen. And maybe calling in sick is something different that you don't normally do if you and the team are on good terms. Maybe you go in, let them see that you're sick, and that's how you go get your IV. You don't make the trainer come to you and bring you. But he really is sick. Now, as far as this situation, I don't think it can be salvaged. But here's one of those things. Our colleague, Steve Young, said this is turning into the NBA. And I would always say the reason I don't believe this is going to turn into the NBA, because eventually NFL owners are going to step in and stop it from being so. And that's what we're seeing in Jacksonville. And so it's going to have to be like Max says. Jalen Ramsey is going to have to make it impossible for the Jacksonville Jaguars to keep him on the team, because if not, I believe they're going to stand a hard line, at least for now, that they're not going to get rid of him.
Only point I want to say to both of y'all is that I think stronger than the argument that I don't want to play for Tom Coughlin, I don't want to play for that man, because you don't want a guy to go to a different situation and you don't like somebody else, et cetera, et cetera. Stronger than that argument would be Jalen Ramsey saying, I'm only making $3.6 million. I want to get paid. I ain't trying to go out there and endanger myself for these dollars when guys from my draft class, albeit on the offensive side of the ball, and Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Ezekiel Elliott, are getting paid an exorbitant amount of dollars.
So here's what's crazy, and Jalen Ramsey is not upset about the money. Jalen Ramsey is okay playing out the last 2 years of this contract, hitting the market, and see what he can garner. This is not about the money. This is not about the Jacksonville Jaguars not re-upping him. This is the same reason Jalen Ramsey went out on Thursday night and played his heart out and fought and made sure that this team got this win, because it's not about that. What it's about is about a relationship. It's about disrespect in a way that Jalen Ramsey feels like he can't function under this team.
And real quick about Steve Young's comment, it's becoming like the NBA. In fact, what the NBA shows is that when players are empowered, they reinforce the right cultures in various teams. Right? Like, where do the players want to go? To the teams that are run well. And that's what Jalen Ramsey is really saying. Like, underneath the conflict, he goes, I don't think this place is being run well. And Coughlin's there going, well, if you, then get out. Great, let's do it. The owner may be stepping in and gumming it up, but that's what seems to be happening.
It's what Richard Sherman alluded to, Max, when he said what he said the other day when asked about player empowerment. He said sometimes that'll help steer things in the right direction. It's a good point.
Okay. Well, speaking of Tom Coughlin, we know he used to be with the Giants. That was the real story yesterday. Daniel Jones. Look at these papers. New man in town, clearly trolling Eli Manning, and Dan-tastic. I'm being told in my ear that I need to say goodbye to Ryan Clark quickly because he's a busy man and has other things to do. On that note, the other thing that happened with the Giants, of course, was bad news, and that was running back Saquon Barkley, who needed to be helped to the locker room after injuring his right ankle late in the second quarter Sunday against the Bucs. The team diagnosed Barkley with a high ankle sprain, and he's scheduled to undergo an MRI today. Oh, Max, you know, we saw a potential franchise quarterback, then we lose Saquon. What does this injury mean for the Giants?
Actually, it's nothing but good news from yesterday. Giants have a franchise quarterback, and you want to know the truth? Of course, I wish Saquon Barkley wasn't hurt and all that, but in the long run, it may work out for the best. First of all, they have to take their time with a high ankle sprain. A serious sprain, really what you're saying is you have like a little micro fracture. That's what that is usually. So don't mess around. Give this man every single game he needs to recover. And Stephen A., what's the upshot going to be? Giants ain't competing for a playoff berth this year. The upshot will be, instead of a full season of wear and tear on his body, Barkley will have a good chunk of the season where he doesn't have to take the hits in a meaningless exercise where they're not going anywhere, and have more tread on the tires throughout his prime, because they have a franchise quarterback. They have a pretty good offensive line, too. In the end, it may work out for the best for the Giants.
Max, here's my thing. I'm in no way am I saying to rush back Saquon Barkley. I know better than that. You know, we know what he means to this franchise. You don't want to rush him back. You want him close to 100% or at 100% before we see him again. But what I would say to you is that the sooner he gets back, the better. I don't think it's right to have the attitude. You're 1-2 on the season. You're 2 games back, just 3 games in. Season just started, man. The notion that, you know what, we're not going to the playoffs, we're not competing for a playoff spot. Who says? We say it, but I don't think they should have that attitude, particularly if you got a quarterback that you believe can play. Tampa Bay is a pretty decent defense. Todd Bowles right now, being the defensive coordinator for that squad, they got a little something going on right now in Tampa in terms of what they're capable of doing. Jameis Winston has looked better under Bruce Arians and with Byron Leftwich as his coordinator. He's looked better under them this year than he did last year. So let's pay attention to that. Let's take that into consideration. And the fact that Daniel Jones went out there and he balled if Saquon's out there, that's an additional weapon for this kid, and you can't write off the season. So I would say to you, you're going to monitor Saquon's high ankle sprain. You don't play around with it. But the sooner he could get back, the better. I'm not writing off anybody in the NFC East. Not the way those cats go at each other religiously.
I got to say, I'm surprised at you because usually you're the one who religiously points out opposition. I didn't think much of the Bucs yesterday. I didn't think much of Jameis either. I mean, the Giants have an awful defense. They can't get pressure on the quarterback. They can't cover anyone down the field. I saw Jameis overthrow receivers down the field as usual. Was there improvement? Sure, but I still saw basically the same guy, just in a little better situation. And on top of all that, not very impressed with the Bucs. The Giants should have lost that game. They really should have lost that game. They relied on the mistakes of the other team ultimately to escape with a win, to not be winless. And I don't think it's a very good team.
I'm not saying they were supposed to win. I'm saying they did win. And it's just 3 games in. You 2 games back, all right? And to your game ahead of the Washington Redskins for the moment. You're tied with the Philadelphia Eagles for the moment.
Yeah,
you got
Stephen
a guy
sorry
that's
to cut you up, but
with it.
you're right. The NFC East always up for grabs. Guys, this just crossing wires. Want to get this in for Carolina fans, fantasy owners, etc. Carolina Panthers have ruled out Cam for their Week 4 game against the Houston Texans, obviously, as that foot injury. So we'll see Kyle Allen again. Stephen A., talk to me.
Max.
Yes.
This brother Kyle Allen rolls out on the field Sunday, and he beats Deshaun Watson in Houston. And he keeps doing what he did yesterday, Max. I mean, what the hell?
I will say
what
this.
You gonna do, just
that
say
could be the best thing for Carolina is let Cam get 5-6 weeks off and go 3-3, 4-2 in those weeks. Let him get fully healthy, come back in a situation where they can make a playoff run.
But Max,
I do not think you're going to see Carolina go like 6-0 in Cam's absence.
And I'm saying,
like
Max, what if the brother go 5-0, Max? What if he go 5-0, Max?
This is the NFL.